Happy Easter and welcome to the Purple Jaguar. So, let's talk about the biggest sports event. This weekend. UFC 287 and the immediate reaction of that fantastic card. But let's start with the story. Now, we have these debates about Michael Jordan and LeBron James, or John Elway, Tom Brady, now Patrick Mahomes. We have the greatest of all time debates. And I want to propose a new category, because I do believe that there is a greatest of all time. But I would like to put a word before that. Unchallenged greatest of all time. And these people would be like the Michael Jordans, the Masvidals, not Masvidal, excuse me, the Nurmagomedov, if that's how you say it, Floyd Mayweathers of the world, the John Elways, and how all these people have something in common, and that is that they'd never lost. As far as a championship game, they never lost. John Elway is 4-0. Michael Jordan 6-0. Floyd Mayweather has never lost a fight, and neither has Nurmagomedov, if that's how you say it. Why I want to put unchallenged in front of these people is because every so often in any sports world, whether it's combat fighting, football, basketball, there becomes a nuanced thing. Something that has never appeared before in a sport. John Jones could be another one, where no one can compete with what this person is doing. During the Michael Jordan era, if he got to the NBA Finals, no one's competing with Michael Jordan in the NBA Finals. No one has the will. No one took him to 7 games. Floyd Mayweather's defense provided him the ability to not get damaged in fights and continue to win off of striking points alone. When we were used to seeing knockouts or TKOs, Floyd Mayweather slowed the fight game down, made it more of a defensive structure, and dominated. John Elway had one of the greatest teams ever for a 4-year period, 4 to 5 year period. They were unchallenged by the rest of the league. And these players are the GOATs. Tom Brady, GOAT. But he wouldn't fall in this category. But then there's the challenged GOATs. The people that would be considered the greatest of all time, but they've lost. Whether it's a championship or in the ring. Israel Adesanya, the Last Stylebender, in my opinion, is the greatest of all time. Now, could we compare him to a 50-0 record, a 38-0 record, a 28-0 record, a 23-0 and 1 no contest? No, we can't, because he does have a loss on his record. But to overcome that loss, the way that he did last night in UFC 287, to say not only that I will fight that guy again, the first fighter that's ever stopped me, and he stopped me multiple times across 2 different sports, I will say yes to that fight again. And not only will I come in mentally sharp and prepared, unafraid, unapologetic, and with a knockout victory forecasted for myself, but I will deliver. This sets him apart from other fighters, in my opinion. When you get to UFC and you start watching UFC and you start really getting to know some of the guys in UFC, all of them have a niche. All of them have a place where they fit. Dana White, the CEO of the UFC, does a really good job of making these fights interesting, or at least trying to keep them interesting. You have your villains, you have your heels, you have your stars, you have your I really want this guy to win, I really like this guy in the UFC. Alex Pereira was an outlier. He is not a natural 185. He had 2 pounds to cut an hour before weigh-ins to get down to 185. Now, he is a professional and he cuts the weight, but just to watch him in the ring with Izzy, you've seen the stark size difference. He is a massive human being. He is daunting, a daunting task. 7-0 since he's came in the UFC. He literally just kept going up, fought for the title, won the title in stunning fashion, albeit. But it's not his story. It's not the story of him. I think that he's a great fighter, phenomenal kickboxer, an imposing force in the UFC. Doesn't have really much of a personality. Is kind of new in a sense to where you don't know a lot about him other than his kickboxing highlights. But he's a monster. But he was the heel or the adversary of the greatest arguably the greatest middleweight of all time. I think it's him and Anderson Silva. And to watch how the outcome happened last night was inspiring. There's a cult following in America of these names. And if you know them, you know them. And if you don't, you don't. Go look them up. But the David Goggins, the Cam Hanes, the Jocko Willings, these are all friends of Joe Rogan, who commentates for the UFC. So you should have heard of them. They have best-selling books. They have a lot of different merchandise that they do. I think Jocko just started doing energy drinks. So you'll see them around. And these are motivational speakers for all intents and purposes. They are men that will go into the dark places, will reach down. 2 of them are ultra marathon runners. One of them's a retired Navy SEAL. We're talking about this kind of company. And they speak a lot about your inner demons and your inner voice. The one that wants to make it easy, wants to choose the path of least resistance. We all have it. Izzy, Adesanya had it. He knows this guy is going to beat him. Or can. He has. He just got finished in the 5th round and lost his belt to this man. Now, I watched UFC 286. And UFC 286 had a similar circumstance with Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. And Leon Edwards was losing that fight just like Alex Pereira was. And then head kick out of nowhere, landed. Kamaru Usman knocked out cold. And they had to rematch. And you could see the mental fortitude of Kamaru Usman in that rematch. He was hesitant. He lacked some confidence. He wouldn't put his foot on the gas pedal as much as you're used to him seeing. He didn't force the fight. It was actually a very boring fight. But not Izzy. Not this man. Now, when we talk about the Jockos, the David Goggins, the Cam Hanes of the world, and we lump in Israel Adesanya, what am I saying? I'm saying that is what a dog is. If you've heard this recently, it's been a new term. There's a dog in you. If there's a dog in you, that means that when everyone else would quit, you won't. When everyone else will stop, you keep going. That you don't let anything deter you from your ultimate goal, even your own mind. Because when you've fought a person multiple times, and multiple times the outcome has been the same, you've lost. Whether it's by decision or being knocked out. and you're still able to get into that ring with full confidence, knowing that you have to be perfect, because for all intents and purposes, the Last Stylebender had to be perfect. That man had some lethal missiles and already had a game plan on how to take Izzy out of his game by calf kicking him, chopping him down, getting the quickness away, and to still fight in a way that is a winning way. Not go in there and put on a show, not tuck your tail, but go and fight as if you know that you can beat this man. And then to knock him out the way that he did. He was knocked out. It was not a TKO. It was not he was asleep. And was asleep he took a good nap, about 30-second nap after the fight was over. I don't want to see a rematch. I don't need to see a rematch because most of the time you only have to conquer your demons once. And so to say, well, this guy deserves... No, this guy is not... He doesn't deserve a rematch. Izzy doesn't need a rematch. He doesn't want a rematch. This guy needs to go to the weight class that he belongs in and allow Israel Adesanya to continue being the GOAT of the middleweight. Because that's the kind of GOAT I want to see. An unchallenged GOAT is somebody that's figured out the system, brought nuance to the system, and no one's prepared for it. Unchallenged. Steph Curry could be considered an unchallenged GOAT. He brought into the NBA the ability to shoot the three from half court. Changed the game. Changed the way the game's played. Changed the way that kids are trying to play the game now. Practicing shots from 4 feet behind the three-point line. Just completely changed the game. Did he have success? A tremendous amount of success. Will go down in history as the all-time greatest shooter that's ever been in the NBA. But unchallenged because he changed the way the NBA is played. Tom Brady didn't do this. I would say that maybe Patrick Mahomes could. When they bring something to the game that's just different than we've ever seen, it becomes an unchallenged type of greatest of all time. Because I've never seen this before. So when you're beating people with a strategy that they and I have never seen before, the only way that people can overcome what you're doing is by putting that nuance in their wheelhouse. You change the game. If they all of a sudden added a 2-point shot to soccer and you could score 2 goals at once, it would change the game. And the first person to figure out how to do it at a high efficiency would have an advantage. So when we talk about GOATs, I want to put an unchallenged and challenged in front of it. And I think we can have a real conversation about what mentality we like better. Do we like the person that's never lost, doesn't know what that feels like? Or do we like the person that's lost, came back, defeated their demons, and then continued to move forward? It's a matter of opinion at that point, because how can we say one is better than the other? The other one's never even experienced defeat. He doesn't know. We don't even know what kind of mindset he would have in it. So I think that fight was amazing. It was motivational. It was. Then Izzy had the speech afterwards. I was obviously on my feet, and that is the outcome that I'd hoped for. Because when you walk into a fight with somebody who is your favorite fighter, and they're not going to be the favorite to win. Now, he was on the betting cards, but that was not necessarily the case as far as any analysis had. So that was my reaction. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Purple Jaguar, and have a happy Easter and a blessed week.